Sorry, babe. You're doing good work. I just wanted to capture it
Thanks.
for posterity. Amber is putting dry lock on the inside of our new pool house. New and improved, I should say. It's not exactly new, but it's definitely improved. That's looking real good, hon.
It'd be better if we could have taken out all the equipment and done the whole thing, but it's okay.
This will work good though. At least it'll keep the moisture down.
It will.
And help it make it a little easier to keep it warm and dry.
Yeah.
Especially in the wintertime.
Someone, who shall remain nameless, left the dry lock paint out overnight, and because it's so cold,
yeah, sorry.
it's like drywall mud.
It's like 50 degrees today.
Look at that. Look.
Man,
Very thick. I mean, I know it's thick paint, but
yeah, it's thick anyways, but now it's extra thick.
Yeah.
It's like spreading pudding with a roller.
Glad we got the 5-gallon bucket because I think we're gonna need it.
Well, you're a trooper, hon. Keep up the good work.
Get this done so you can get it put back together.
Yep, I'll get in here and get it replumbed.
Think we can be swimming by tomorrow evening?
Well, we can hope. See how quickly we can get that pool warmed up.
Yeah, that's.
It's gonna be cold.
I'm not getting that.
But if I can get it going so the heater runs all night, maybe.
If I could just sit and watch the Jets, I'd be happy.
Well, we'll see about that. All right, I'm gonna close you back in here so you get warm again.
Keep my
I'll
heat
see you.
in here. All right.
See you for a while. So Amber just finished painting the walls of the new pool house addition, the new and improved pool house, and she's still got to do a little bit there in the corner, a little brushwork tomorrow, but everything else has been done. So we're super excited to get started putting everything back together in the pool house because the kids are dying to get in the pool. It's like 50 degrees today, so they weren't too excited about it, but tomorrow it's supposed to be back up in the 70s, so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get all this wiring and plumbing and everything done so we can get the kids back in the pool ASAP. So let me show you exactly what we're getting into in the pool house. We're making some changes now that we have this new and improved pool house. So let me show you exactly what we're getting into. All right, so from here up is all new block. And originally, this was the next to last course, and then there was another course of block on top of that, and there was a concrete roof right there. That concrete roof ran all the way around at this level, and that was the entirety of the pool house. So originally the control panel, you can see where the screws were, right here, here, and here. That's where the control panel hung. Next to it we had the light power box. Over here we had the controls for the water, for the automatic water fill. And so everything was like down here on the ground. I mean, it was absolutely miserable trying to work in here, and it's constantly banging my head. The utilities come in right here. We've got water, electric, and gas all coming in right here. And so now we're going to be able to make some changes. We're going to be able to lift everything up off the floor, and the new control panel location is going to be somewhere around in here. So it's going to be straight ahead. You know, I'm 6'3". I'm going to have, you know, the controls about eye level. So I can just walk in here, you know, take a quick reading on all the, you know, salinity and the pump speed and all the settings and everything, and be done, be out. We are adding a sub panel, and so that's what this is laying on the floor. This is a renovation panel, which is great for a project like this. And so originally this 220 wiring came out of the house. It's on a breaker in one of our 200 amp breaker boxes marked pool house. And so originally this came right out and went into the Hayward control box. And if you'll remember, that Hayward control box has its own breakers, and everything was just controlled from there. Well, we're adding some additional circuits because of the additional things we're doing out here. We're going to have our bathroom next door, which is going to have lighting. We're going to have a mini split system to keep that cool and dehumidified in the summertime. So we needed a sub panel. And so I'm going to mount this on the wall, and I'm actually going to use conduit this time. Last time I just kind of stabbed the wires in and called it good because I knew we were going to be changing all this. But I'm actually going to glue together some conduits, which is going to come in through that bottom knockout. And then it'll come in and get run into that 100 amp breaker. And from there, I've got a 60 amp breaker that's going to take power to the Hayward control panel. And then I'll have some 15s and a couple of 20s for lighting and some additional things in this 100 amp panel. So it's really going to help us to break things up nicely and have some additional accessories and wiring and lighting and all that sort of stuff out here. I'm also going to do lighting in here. I've never had lighting in the pump house itself, but up here I'm going to do one of those big fluorescent fixtures, high intensity fluorescent fixture. And I'm excited about that. It'd be great to have some lighting. So that's one of the things that'll come off of this new sub panel. Will be lighting for in here because I work by flashlight the entire time. So I'm not going to know how to act. It's going to be awesome. So I'm going to continue to work some things out here. I'm trying to find the best placement for our sub panel and the Hayward panel and the lighting transformer and the water fill control panel, all that stuff. Trying to find the best location for that. I may end up just putting a big piece of plywood on the wall, and that way I can kind of move stuff around if I need to. Otherwise, I'm going to be using Tapcons and just anchoring everything to the wall, just like I did before. So I'm going to mess around with this stuff a little bit and kind of play around with the placement of everything, and then start getting some stuff mounted and wired up. As you can see, it's getting dark outside, and I'm still plugging away in the pool house. Behind me on the wall there, you can see a piece of plywood. I just used the Bulldog hammer drill and some Tapcons with my impact to secure that to the wall. So now that we got a piece of plywood on there, we got a great place to anchor all of our boxes. We have a sub panel, we've got our control panel, and then we have the water, the automatic fill system control center, and then we also have our transformer for the pool light. So we've got a bunch of stuff to put on the wall. Just figured it'd be easier to put a piece of plywood on there, and then I can just screw everything to that versus having to try to do Tapcons for all of this equipment through the block. So got that up there. Now I'm ready to go ahead and set my sub panel. And then once that's done, I'll be able to run my conduit and go ahead and get that sub panel wired up. Then we'll be ready to go ahead and hang the main control panel, get it wired to the sub panel, and then I'll be ready to wire all of my equipment back to the control panel. Whew, sounds a lot of work. I don't know how much longer I'm going to put in tonight. I'm going to try to get the sub panel done, get it wired up, and then I'll probably call it quits for the night after I get that up. And then go ahead and start bright and early tomorrow morning and try to get that knocked out. Tomorrow's Memorial Day, so we're trying to get the pool open in time for Memorial Day. Hopefully get the heater fired up, get the water warmed up a little bit, and actually enjoy a swim tomorrow afternoon. We'll see what happens. Pretty ambitious, but we'll see. All right, so I got my sub panel up on the wall here, and now I'm gonna work on my conduit. The guys ran 2-inch conduit from the house underneath the patio out there, and then in here, and then pulled the wire through it. And so what I've done is I've put a 2-inch to 1.5-inch reducer on there, and then a couple of 45s. So I'm going to 45 over, 45 up, and then from here, I'll run a straight piece of 1.5 inches all the way up to the box. And there I'll have an 1.5 inch male thread conversion. And then I'll use a nut on the inside here to secure that to the box. I'll hit that large center knockout there, and then that'll give us a nice watertight, rodent tight way to run our wires up here. And then from here, I'm gonna run a piece of conduit over to the pool control panel. Not exactly sure what size I'm going to use. I think I'll probably use 3/4. So I'll probably use that knockout just to the left of the big one there, and then maybe go over with 3/4 liquid tight. We're using 1/2 inch liquid tight on everything else. That's this stuff laying on the ground here. That's great for a single piece of Romex. I guess you could be really creative and stuff too in there. So maybe I'll do a piece of 3/4 inch from this box to the pool control panel. Not exactly sure yet, Still trying to figure out my fittings there, but once I get this big one up here, we'll be in great shape. The nice thing about the conduit is, in case we ever need to pull any more wires, you know, if we want to expand this panel, put a bigger panel out here, we can always come back later and pull more wire through this conduit. So conduit's always a good thing, and this flexible stuff's great. Don't worry about it rusting, and you can just glue it up with this PVC cement, and you can manipulate it and move it and bend it and use a heat gun on it and make creative curves and all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty handy stuff. And again, protects it from an environment in here, you know, the water and the salt and everything, and then also protects you from rodents, which, as you saw when we took our control panel apart after last season, we had a rodent camping out up on top of the breakers. I was so ticked. So anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and get this glued together, and then we'll get our big piece run up the wall here, pull our wires out, and go ahead and get this panel wired up. And we'll see how much energy I have left after that. All right, we got the conduit done, and that looks fantastic, if I don't mind saying so myself. And then I just got our wires all hooked up here, neutral to our neutral bar, ground to our ground lug, and our 2 hot leads to our big 100 amp disconnect there. So we're in good shape. Now we can actually start dropping some breakers in there and get some power to some lighting and our pool control panel, all sorts of good stuff. So it's nice having that sub panel in here, and that conduit turned out really, really great. Glad I ended up doing that. I mean, you know, inside a pool house like this, you could get away with all sorts of stuff. You know, just running wire up the wall. But you know what? I'm going to do it right, and it'll pay off in the long run. A little extra expense, a little extra time right now, but you know, doing it right, doing it the right way this time will mean that I don't have to do it again sometime in the future. So makes me happy. So this is looking really good. I think I've got enough energy to go ahead and hang our pool control panel, and then I can get start figuring out the wiring for that. So let me go grab that beast off the back porch and hold it up here, see where I want it. I think I'm going to hang it even with the sub panel, and then that'll make it fairly easy to drop our power wires out the bottom of the sub panel and then go up and into the control panel. So let me get it hung up here and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so I got the pool panel hung. This is that Hayward panel that we used the last several seasons, and it's been a good one. I really enjoyed playing around with all the settings and everything, getting things tweaked. I think I'm going to make a couple of changes this year if I have time. There's a Wi-Fi setup that you can put on here that allows this control panel to broadcast via Wi-Fi and be controlled via Wi-Fi. So I think I may pick that up, and that will allow us to get a cell phone app. And with that, we can check all of our settings, check for trouble codes and that sort of thing, get trouble alerts while we're on vacation. From poolside, we can turn the fountains off and on, change the heater settings, you know, all sorts of things. So it's pretty slick. So I may get that this year. There's also another thing too that allows us to control acidity and some other things. I think chlorine, I'm trying to think what the name of that thing is, but Sense and Dispense is what it's called. And I've read some mixed reviews on that. Some people say it works really well. Other people say they were a little frustrated with it. So that's something else too that helps to control the levels in the pool. It uses a CO2 tank or a muriatic acid dispenser. And I think the CO2 tank sounds pretty slick. But anyway, so you can control your pH, control your chlorine, everything automatically. It's got sensors in the water that pick up on everything. So anyways, that'd be kind of a neat add-on as well. But right now I'm just going to concentrate on getting everything in here and hooked up and operating like it was last year. So that's the main plan. So I'm going to quit for the night. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and start running all my wiring. from the main panel here, I've got to get power from over here. I've got a 60 amp breaker that's going to carry power over to the pool panel. And then from the pool panel, I've got to run power and control wires down to the big pump, and power and control wires over to the heater, and then a power wire for the auxiliary pump. Once I get all that done, then and I got to put all that stuff in this liquid tight flexible conduit. I don't have to, but again, I want to do it right and make sure everything's sealed up and protected from rodents and everything else. So I think all this stuff will last longer and look better and everything else if I go ahead and keep it in the liquid tight. So that's what I'm going to do again this time, just like last time. So I'll get all that done tomorrow, and then once that's done, then I'll be ready to go ahead and start getting all the plumbing set up. So putting all the drain plugs back in, put the pressure gauge on top of the filter vessel. Seems so weird to see that thing sitting over there, because before in the old pool house, the filter vessel was like 6 inches from the roof. Like there was just enough room to put the pressure gauge on top of that thing. It seems so weird to look over there and see it sitting there. Weird and awesome. And anyways, get all the drain plugs in, get all of our manifolds and everything hooked back up, grease all the O-rings, double check everything. And once that's done, we'll be able to go ahead and pull the cover off the pool and vacuum out the skimmers, take the plugs out of the return jets, put the eyeball fittings back in, shock the pool once we uncover it, because we don't want to take any chances on algae or anything growing in there. And then just double check everything, and I think we'll be ready to start circulating tomorrow. And then once we start circulating, we'll want to backwash the filter and all that stuff, get it ready. And then once it's run for a little bit, I'm going to kick the heater on. We'll start bringing the temperature up. Hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, we'll be able to actually jump in and enjoy a swim. So fingers crossed. We'll keep you guys posted.